What does it mean when a player does a long backstory for their character? What does that tell the game master? It tells him that that player is invested in that character. Why would a game master frown at a long backstory? Well, there could be a negative reason, like the game master is lazy. And if that is the case, that is on the game master, not on the long backstory or the player. But then there can be another reason, one that's not so negative. It is the game. Like, look at old TSR D&D. It can be a meat grinder depending on how players play that game. And dungeon masters know that. So they don't want you to overly invest in a character when you're first starting the game. And they'll have methods for how you can develop that backstory, that background to the character throughout gameplay. Now let me be honest with you. When you hear a lot of negative things about long backstories, it usually comes from people that, they have an ego about the way they play the game, right? The way their game functions. And whatever their game is, it's better than your game. And the way they go about, approaching that game is better than how you approach yours. And if their game doesn't support, long backstories, they won't support it. And then you get to those lazy game masters that don't want to deal with like a 2 or 3 page backstory. Well, of course, they're going to speak out against long backstories. They're not going to tell you that they're lazy. They're going to degrade the idea of long backstories, tell you it's bad. And guess what? Many of the people from that game that doesn't support long backstories will join them in degrading the idea of a long backstory. So long backstories are not bad at all. Like if you run into a game master who's not lazy, and he runs a game, maybe even the same game as those other people, but there's adjustments to it, so it can handle a long backstory because the game is not as much of a meat grinder as, say, it would be raw rules as written. So yes, you can start a character that pretty much has no backstory and develop something throughout the game, and in reality, I'll be real with you, you can pretty much start a character without a backstory and it never becomes the focus of what you're doing throughout the game, and it's never something that's going to bother you. And at the same time, you can turn around and do a long backstory if you run into the right game master and say they are running a game that is supportive of a long backstory. If they're not lazy, they can take advantage of your backstory and really make it an effective part of the game that is really enjoyable. There is no real wrong way to do this. As they say, there's no wrong way to play the game. Well, it really comes down to what's right and what's wrong for the situation. That's more real. Like for that lazy game master, a long backstory is wrong. For a game not adjusted that can't handle long backstories because it might be a meat grinder, well then it can be wrong. But if you get to the right game master with the right game, then it can be perfect. It can be a perfect fit to the situation. That's what you're dealing with. Anyway, for now, take care. You know what you can do? You can hit the like button. You can share the video. Oh, and there's another button you can press. That one that lets you subscribe to my channel for more content. Oh yeah, there's that bell thing. You can press that so you know when I've uploaded a new video right away.